I'll send her you back.
Yeah, he's letting me off the tax on this. One for you. Thank you. Here's one for you. Who is this person? Because I got hand-me-outs.
I wanted to be there, but gas is outrageous.
If you're a realtor, you make all kinds of money.
Yeah, when that day's coming, but it hasn't happened.
I know, driving down to Cherry Creek today, I saw a regular at 420. I'm like, oh,
Good Lord.
that's not even 87. No, I don't want to be the market expert. I want this one. Hold on. Find the right one. Okay, I thought I did. Maybe she was using the same link. Let's see if I join it. When you guys came into it, did it say open, did it say be the market expert, or did it say join the method, or did you not know?
Mine said join the hang on, I can tell you real quick.
It says
Join the
for success, open house
yeah.
edition.
Okay, that is really weird because when I'm using the link off of Elizabeth's email, it's the one that went online.
Where was I?
Okay, well, let's do this. Because you really do want me on Zoom so you can see the fancy PowerPoint I created.
Oh, good.
We'll see if it's good.
I'm sure it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it was definitely reaching into some old skill sets. It smells like where I want to go. It gets more difficult. Okay.
Work in progress.
Oh no, I didn't mean to do that.
Okay. Just checking I don't have any rework that I need on. All right. Okay, so I want to make sure I get attendance so that I get all of you guys the handouts that I gave out here in the room. Because they're kind of important. So I've got Greg and I've got Andrea. And I see Karen B. And I see Kelly. All right, anybody there that I missed? And it's 12:04, so I think it's time to start the party. What do you guys think?
Yep.
All right, let's do this. All right, are you seeing my PowerPoint?
Yeah. Open house magistrate. I mean, national.
All
What?
right.
Yeah.
So, and it's not so much about me. So, open houses are a really great way to find business. As a matter of fact, let's all celebrate Coach's first closing this morning. That was a result of working an open house last year.
Yep.
Okay. Yay! Woo, woo. We're gonna ring the bell later now that we know Charles is no longer on the Zoom call. So we can be noisy because I didn't know who he was on with. So today I really want to talk a lot about best practices, office expectations, what happens when you're hosting an open house. Because I think it's super important that we're all playing on the same page. Okay. First of all, when you are there as an open house host, if it's not your listing, you are representing the listing agent. Okay. And so you want to make sure that you're doing that and you're communicating with them. And our ultimate goal is to help the listing agent sell the house. Right. Now, the reality is our real purpose for there is to lead generate. Okay. And sometimes those two things are the same. So, whoops. Come on. And I don't think I wrote this in here, but I want you to know, I always want you to assume that you are being watched and you are being listened to by the seller. Okay. Few years, my first year of coaching, so this had to be back in 2018. I had agents out working an open house, and I get a phone call from the listing agent, who's a really good friend of mine, gave me lots of open houses, was super supportive of the program. And she says, Margaret, if you want any more open houses, either for yourself or for anyone in your coaching program, Joe will never be allowed in another one of my listings. Okay, what happened? Well, Joe was caught on camera, and he knew that there were cameras there, he was told, sitting on the arm of the sofa, munching away on his schnapps. And then, when someone came in, not once, but several times, Joe would say, you know, this particular property is a really choppy floor plan, and I think it's overpriced. So I can go show you the house down the street.
Wow.
Don't be that agent. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the systems of open house. We're going to talk about preparation. We're going to talk about being professional. Marketing drives traffic. During is your conversation. And after is monetization. Okay, so the magic is definitely at the end. So preparation. How you show up for an open house will absolutely determine how seriously clients will take you. Okay, so being prepared. So what does that look like? First of all, the office strongly encourages, I might even say it's Bob's rules, that we don't work open houses alone, right? And there's two reasons for that. One is absolutely your safety. Okay, I literally was reading the news in my home state of Iowa where they finally found the person who walked into an open house and the open house host that was there didn't survive. They finally found the person who did that. So I don't ever want that to be any of us. I don't say that to scare you, but that's the world we live in. The other reason I think it's really important to have more than one person at the open house is if you get really busy, and some of you worked some of you guys who worked open houses this last weekend, we were busy, right? If you're there by yourself and you're having a great conversation with one of the open house guests and two more couples walk in the door, how can you take care of all of them? You can't, right? And so having someone else there with you also allows you to make sure that you're properly greeting the guests that are coming and making a good impression. How many of you would go to Nordstrom's and be really happy if there was only one salesperson in the entire store during Christmas, Black Friday, right? You wouldn't. right? Kind of like going through TSA today. Nobody's really happy going through there, right? So think about that. Now, a lot of agents will say to me, but coach, I don't want to split the leads, right? This is the deal I found. I don't want to split the leads. Here's my suggestion. Go find a lender partner that's as hungry about building their business as you are about yours. Okay? Because your lenders need these too. Okay? When you are working with an agent, another agent, which is pretty typically what most of us do, you want to align expectations. You want to have a conversation in advance. Who's on first? Okay? What time are you going to get there? I highly recommend 45 minutes to an hour. Supplies, who's bringing what? Who's going to get the signs if you have your own signs or if you're going to borrow the ones from the office? Who's going to create the flyer? Are you going to co-brand the flyer or are you each going to have your own? Who's going to create the sign-in sheets? Who's going to bring drinks and cookies or whatever else you're going to do? Talk about how the two of you are going to do the open house together. Okay? Lead agreement. How are you going to divide leads? Okay? There's nothing that makes my heart hurt more than when I hear after a open house, Margaret, I don't ever want to work with Joe again. Because it felt like he was stealing all of the leads from me. I don't want to work with Susie because every time I get into the middle of a great conversation, she would step between me and the guest. Right? And by the way, when I was a new agent, I had that happen. Right? And I stopped working with that particular agent because I wasn't playing her game. By the way, she's no longer in business. Okay? But how are you going to divide leads? There's a couple of different ways you can do that, and there's no wrong answer. Okay? Number one, you can do the every other one. Okay? You get the people, the first person that walks in is going to be coaches, and the second person is going to be AJs, and the third one's going to be coaches, and vice versa. You're just going to do every other one as they walk in the door. That can work. As long as you don't have coaching already in the middle of conversation, and number three walks in, and AJ goes, well, that's supposed to be coaches, but she's still busy. So how are you going to handle them? Another way is if you use a sign-in sheet, you guys just talk to whoever walks in the door, and you just divide them up at the end, right? And if you can identify which ones are working with brokers, then you skip those and just make sure that that doesn't happen, okay? The third option is relationships, okay? This is where you really want to be working with somebody that you kind of know pretty well. But this is what always has worked best for me. And sometimes some of you have gotten phone calls from me saying, Stacy's sick, can you come work an open house for me? Okay. And when that happens, my preferred way is not about how they come in, right? And it's more about who develops the relationship. Because if you're working an open house with somebody else, is it not true that oftentimes you both end up talking to the people? Yeah, you both do. Well, how do you decide who's going to get that lead? Well, if Coachy and I are doing an open house together and we're having a joint conversation because we're not super busy, but they super like Coachy. Like you will know. Like, don't you know? Can't you tell when somebody is more drawn to one of you versus the other? For those of you that don't you,
Yes.
all day long, right? Why would I take that lead from Coachy? They don't even like me. But when she wants to follow up, she's got a better chance of the win. And that's what we want.
Correct.
We've always done is whoever it felt like they had the best initial relationship or attraction to. As Stacy always says, if they walk into the open house and they have Iowa Hawkeye gear on, I'm leaving the room. Right? So who are they going to relate to the best? And then let that person take it. Okay. And then if there's some that you're like, God, I don't know, they kind of were kind of so what with both of us, then you just divide up what's left. The key is nobody feels like they got taken advantage of. Any questions, comments, thoughts on that piece already? Okay. Communication back to the listing agents is absolutely critical. Okay. It doesn't take both of you. Identify who's going to be the main point of contact with the listing agent. Okay. Because here's how the listing agent is going, here's what's happening in the listing agent's way. Sellers have, hey, the open house ended 5 minutes ago. How many people came? Did we get an offer? What was it like? Okay. So you want to be able to send feedback and let the listing agent know what's going on. Also, questions may come up during the open house. being able to answer those and wanting to do that. Here's the reality. Unclear expectations in this arena equals lost leads. Okay?
Unclear expectations. What?
Equals lost leads. The
Okay.
bottom line on the slide.
Right. Oh,
Okay. Know your product. You might want to look at the MLS. You might want to study it. You don't have to memorize it. We always keep a copy with us, but know it a little bit, right? Know before you walk in the door. If you can, preview the home the day before, or at least get there early enough that you can walk it. Okay? You definitely want to be able to talk to the house. You want to tell people what's really cool in the basement or in the upstairs or in the lot or whatever, right? So the more you know the home, the better off you're going to have connecting with and talking to the guests that come. And then understand the upgrades and features. Okay? I'm going to guess that in the new home community, Greg, that was a pretty big deal,
huge.
right? It's the same in resale, right? There's a big difference between Sears, Scratch, and Dent and Viking.
Right.
Know the area. Know the nearby homes. What's currently on the market and what recently went pending. So do a little search in the MLS before you go do the open house. I normally will print out the quick CMA in the area, so that way I have it on a piece of paper. So if anybody asks a question, I can say, oh yeah, that house 2 blocks over, that's currently on the market for this much and it's 2-story. I have enough information to be able to talk to it. If you have time, go preview some of those competing homes that are in the area. That even takes it a step farther. Where are the local coffee shops, parks, and amenities? There's 2 reasons I wrote coffee shops on here. One, it's good to know. Second of all, if you have someone come to the open house and they want to meet with you shortly after, that way you know where to take them, right? Because my goal at every open house is that I have an appointment, right? I've connected with somebody at such a level, I have an appointment scheduled with them. And if they want to write an offer on this house, I need to know where to go meet them. So first of all, bring your laptops. Okay, Starbucks has Wi-Fi. You might be going and writing an offer. Now, some of you are gonna go, but Margaret, I'm new, I've been coaching. That's fine. We'll work through the timing of it, right? But know where the local coffee shop is so that you know where to send them and where to meet them. And then lifestyle selling points. What's in the area? Are there lots of trails? Are there lots of parks? What are the rec centers, right? Know the selling points of the area. You guys, this is where you're going to differentiate yourself from every other open house host that's out there. If you don't believe me, go to some open houses. Just go. Shop around. Okay? Logistics matter. Book a showing. That's how you're going to get access information like the lockbox. You're also going to know what the showing instructions are. Okay? If it's a no-shoe house, then it's a no-shoe open house. Okay? So follow the showing instructions that you get when you book the showing. I normally will book the showing access. Usually, like if our open house is at 11, I'll book it from 10 to 10:15 or 10:15 to 10:30. I don't block out the showing for the whole amount of time, just because a lot of that stops the listing agents, right? So I just get enough to get the access.
Say that again. So when you go in on and book that time for your open house, let's say it's 2 hours long, you do it for the whole 2 hours.
No, I do not.
Oh.
I do it for 15 minutes. So if my open house is 11 to 3,
right,
I'm doing my access so I know how to get into the house from 10:15 to 10:30. I'm only doing like 15 minutes because I don't want to block all the showing windows for the listing.
I get it. Okay, that makes sense. I get it. I was confused. Never mind.
You're good. If you were confused, so are others, right? Be early. My God, you guys, there's times we've pulled up at 45 minutes before the open house and people are parked waiting.
That's happened to me even being 45 minutes to an hour early.
Yeah, that's what I just said. It's 45 minutes early, right? So here's the thing. Be early Because one, there's nothing worse than trying to set up your display and you got people trying to get in the door. There's nothing worse than setting up signs and come screaming in 2 minutes before you're ready to go. So I usually I start my setup an hour before the open house and my setup starts with signing. Okay. Lockbox protocol, this actually happened this weekend. Actually on one of my listings. If you go to the house and you open it up and then you leave to go set up signs, put the key back in the lockbox so that if there's a showing schedule, the showing agent can get in.
Oh,
If you take out the key to get in for your open house, don't put the key somewhere in the house. Put it back in the lockbox and lock the lockbox. It's the safest place for it to be. It can't get lost, it can't get taken, it can't do any of that type of stuff.
good suggestion.
That was me. I did that.
Kelly?
Yeah, I did that. So I did it because I didn't realize that we would have a showing so close to the open house. We actually had dropped our stuff, started doing signs, and then had to like take all our stuff out of the house so the showing could proceed. I did not understand that there could be showings up to 15 minutes before the open house. I felt very rushed in that like we had to kind of vacate and be put on pause. That felt very uncomfortable to me, and I didn't know the protocol.
So you should not have been put on pause. So if you're there as an agent and you're setting up and someone has a showing, you should be able to remain in the house and do your setup.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So if that agent pushed you out, let me know and I'll call him and chew him out because that's not how we do it, right? We respectfully, and I can say that because I was a listing agent, so I can't go chew with that agent. So here's the thing, right? You're professional. You're not going to interact with his buyer and try and steal him. Just go about your business and go ahead and set up. Okay. So there will be, and always assume there's going to be agents that actually come and show the house during your open house. Agents will be showing them all the way up to when you start and as soon as you end. And so always assume when you're leaving the property, there's a showing coming behind this. There's going to be a showing that's going to show up while you're out setting up signs. So Kelly, I'm sorry about the confusion on that, on both levels.
That's learning. Thank you.
Yeah, it is, right? And guess what? You guys still had a kick butt open house this weekend because you had like what, 25 people through or something. So it was all good. Permission if it's not your listing. Well, and this really plays into the marketing side of the house, but some of you are like, I want to do open houses in my neighborhood, right? I want to do open houses in my geo farm if you're going to start geo farming. Or I just want to up my game and I want to do only $1 million open houses. Whatever your story is, you can absolutely do open houses outside of the brokerage. If you're going to do an open house for someone who's not a listing agent in this brokerage, you need to get written permission from either that seller or that listing agent that you can do that. Now, it's not hard. They send you an email or you send an email that says, Joe, it seems to be I'm picking on Joe today. Joe, just to confirm, my open house that you're listing at 123 Beach Street is going to be on Sunday from 11 to 3, and I'll plan to be there about 10 to start setting up. Please confirm. And then Joe replies back, sounds good, there's your permission. Okay, same thing in the market center. If you come to one of the listing agents, you came to Charles or I, we both have listings, and say, hey, can I do an open house? As long as we tell you yes, you can do it. Just don't go do an open house when you don't have permission. Okay? All right, marketing equals traffic. No traffic equals no opportunity. Right? Now, I have said and will say again that you are going to have open houses that you're not going to have 1 million people come through. That's going to happen. If it hasn't, it will. And if you're doing the right level of pre-marketing, which we're going to talk about here, even if nobody walked in the door, or if everybody that walked in the door was already under agreement with another realtor, if you are marketing these open houses on your social media and to your database, you're still getting activity from it. People are seeing you working. Super important, okay? But if you don't get traffic there, it's gonna be rough. So, this is a 7th level open house strategy. This is actually talked about in many of the Keller Williams different classes that we teach. And I'm tired of walking, so now I'm gonna sit down. Signs. Signage is important. I like to use anywhere from a minimum of 10 to up to 20 directional arrows per open house. Okay?
Wow.
I don't mess around, Greg, right? If you have time and habit, you can also get riders that you can put on top of the yard arms that say open Saturday, and you can put in the time, or open Sunday, you can put in the time. Ask the listing agents if they have them, if you don't own them. By the way, riders are super inexpensive. You can go get them locally at S&G Signs just down the street at 53rd and Lamar. But that way, everybody that drives through the open house, right? So today's what? What's today? Tuesday? I don't even know what day the week it is. Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's Tuesday. If I've got an open house on Saturday and I put a rider up that says open Saturday 11 to 3, everybody that drives by that house is going to know there's an open house coming that weekend. Okay?
Now, does that say your name on it or just open house in the time?
Just open house and time. Here's the thing, you don't want to put your name out in the yard if you're not the listing agent. That's going to get very confusing to the consumer.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay? Flyers. Again, through command Canva, I guess now is what it is, right? Designs is Canva. You could create flyers and brand them to yourselves. We want you to do that. Right now, if I'm doing an open house with Coachy, it's done for her to have a flyer and me to have a flyer. We co-brand it, we hand out the same ones. If you're not the listing agent, every piece of marketing that you have needs to say listing courtesy of and the name of the listing agent. So if you're doing one of Bob's open houses, it's going to say listing courtesy of Bob Isabel. If you're doing one for Amanda and Nikki, it's going to say listing courtesy of A&N Homes, Colorado. Okay, you're not the listing agent and you don't ever want to make it look like you're projecting that you are. Okay, neighborhood invites. This has kind of fallen off and I don't know why. But if you went out and you invited 25 to 100 of the neighbors to your open house, that would absolutely increase your traffic. Okay. And so I like to do that the day before the open house, is to go out to the neighborhood, let them know what's going on. Because here's the thing, those neighbors are watching you. And one of those neighbors might be selling your house. And if you knock on their door and say, hey, I'm hosting an open house, blah, 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 that's a step up above what our competition agents are doing, right? Always assume everything you do around an open house is you are auditioning for your next or first listing. Okay? Social media, get it on your social media, personal, business, Insta, Facebook, whatever you want to do. I would say multiple versions, right? You might have a story, you might have a reel, you might have a teaser on Thursday. Then on Saturday morning, you might go live at the open house and do a quick little tour. Then you might do something in the middle of it, right? So the more you can do, getting that social media presence is going to help. Doesn't mean it's going to necessarily guarantee that all your friends are going to show up at the open house. That does happen sometimes though. But guess what? They still know you're working. They still are remembering that you're in real estate and you're out hustling.
That's true.
Email database, right? Take your command database and send them an email. Hey guys, there's an open house on 123 Beach Street and I'm going to be there Saturday from 12 to 3. Come check out this fantastic, fill in the link here. Email your database. Make sure that you or the listing agent has got it properly put into the MLS with the time and date. We hosted one time for an agent and they put the time in from 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. Oops! Then we wondered why we didn't have anybody showing up. If you get those into the MLS with the right times, they do syndicate out to where most of the buyers are finding us, Zillow and Redfin. Those are the number 2 things that I hear over and over and over again. Questions on that? Comments on that?
I have a question, two questions
Yeah.
actually. So the first question is with regard to like social media flyers, as long as the proper attribution is there, having your photo there, is that okay, or where does that fall?
Yep, brand it as if it was your listing. Put the information into whatever template you want to use, and there's some good ones in both Command, and in Canva, right? And so go ahead and, whoops, let's try to get on camera so you guys can see me a little bit. Yes, but you can put your contact information, your photo, your logo, your contact information, as long as it says listing courtesy of.
Okay,
By the way, it does not have to be in font 20. Read between the lines.
great.
Okay?
Thank you. And then for my second question is, uh, as far as like content goes inside, like let's say inside of the home, like can you create reels? Because you mentioned like going live inside of the home. Is there any concern with like showing off or doing basically like a house tour or something like that? Do you have to have the owner's permission to do that, or what does that look like?
Double check with the listing agent.
Okay.
Like the house that you guys were at this weekend, which was my listing, that's a vacant home. Do whatever you want, right? If you have a property where they might have some collections or something that might indicate who they are. So as an example, my daughter's, one of her best friends is the child of a Colorado Rockies player. Okay, and there were parts of their house that you would immediately know where you were. You would have known which Rockies player it was. And so if I was at that house, I probably wouldn't do that room. And I would just verify with the listing agent because here's the thing, it says in the listing agreement what you're not allowed to do.
True.
That's not my answer. When in doubt, ask the listing agent.
Great. Thank you.
For someone who says I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission, in this case, it's permission versus forgiveness. Okay. Signs are your silent sales team. Directional arrows matter, especially if you're doing it in an area where you want to be known, right? Eventually getting to the point where you have your own branded open house signs with your name. So if you're deciding that you want to take over a community and you're really focused on doing multiple open houses out there a month, think about it, right? Here comes mom and dad going home from the grocery store on Saturday morning and they see all of your arrows put up. They might not consciously recognize it, but then the next weekend, they're coming home from soccer practice with little Jimmy. Oh my God, there's those open house signs again, subconsciously, right? They start seeing those same signs over and over and over again. Who's the most active agent in the neighborhood?
You?
And then who are they going to call when they're ready to sell? You, okay? Visibility equals attendance. The more visible you are, the more attendance you're going to get. How many of you pay attention when you're out driving around on the weekends to open house signs and how they're placed? Am I the only weirdo?
No, I pay attention to it.
You pay attention to it, right? It cracks me up, the agents who put one sign on the corner and that's it. By the time I see the sign, I'm already gone, if I even noticed it. So one of the things I always recommend is stacking your signs.
Quick question on signs. I've been using 10 with the additional 5 that I'm getting soon, I hope. That'll be enough?
Yeah, I mean, just keep growing it, right? When you check out open house signs from the office, you're getting 15 directional arrows, 2 sidewalk signs, and a welcome come in sign. So how much is that? That's 18 total.
Right, that's a lot.
Okay. Do you gonna use them all every time? No. But seriously, my goal is to empty my trunk every time we're signing for an open house. Okay.
I agree.
So stack them for visibility. Charles told me a couple of weeks ago I was doing an open house and it was off of 64th and Ward and his gym is there on Saturday mornings. And he goes, I was driving down the road and I said to Aaron, oh, Margaret's working an open house in the area. And he goes, I can see your signs from far away. And he goes, and I recognize the logo, right? So the more visible you are, if you only put one sign on the corner, you're not going to get the attention as if you're stacking 3 to 4 on the corner on one side and then 3 to 4 on the opposite side. And bring them in. Even if people are all coming off of using their GPSs, seeing signs helps them find you. Okay?
Hey,
Yes.
Margaret, I,
Yep.
I understand the signs when you get close. One thing I've been debating is how far away from the house to place signs. Because, as you said, a lot of people are using their GPS. They've already know the open house. They've got the address. Uh, I I've been kind of taking the approach of more close as they get in the area to drive them in and get all the neighborhood. But like, how far away would you suggest you consider sending signs out?
Mm-hmm. So there was one agent in the office who got really mad at us because we wouldn't sign off of Wadsworth when the house wasn't a mile away from Wadsworth. I don't think you need to go a mile out. I kind of go to what's the nearest high traffic road and I start there. So if I'm doing a property, say at 84th and Sims, okay? I'm probably going to sign definitely off of Sims because that's a major road in Arvada. And then I'm going to make a choice depending on the property and what the setup looks like is I might sign off of 80th or I might sign off of 88th, but I won't do both. So it kind of depends on the property and what my closest big street is.
Great, thank you.
Yep, did that make sense?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm not gonna go to Kipling or Wadsworth if I'm signing Sims. That's just dumb. Use sign in, check in and out system. So there is a system here in the market center. All of you are coaching people, so we have a system where you reserve a set of signs. So you go and you can all find this on the PC resource page. You have to reserve the set of signs first, and then you schedule time to come pick them up and then time to bring them back. Last weekend, we had a situation where people were scheduling time to pick them up, but they didn't reserve them, and we were scrambling to get enough kits put together for everybody. Make sure you're returning your signs because right now it's busy season. We're turning and burning. We have 6 sets. We can turn 6 sets into 8 if we have to, but we need to know we have to. I don't ever want you to be party number 7 to walk in and we have no signs for you. Okay, so just make sure you're following the process and communicate a lot with Stacy if you have any questions. Your neighborhood strategy is your gold mine. This is truly the gold, right? Neighbors are future sellers.
True.
And
Do
they
that.
are, go ahead, Greg, what?
I said very true.
Yeah, neighbors are future sellers. And the reason they're coming to your open house is because they're snoopy. They'll say they're a nosy neighbor, but they're not just a nosy neighbor. They are considering selling their home and they want to know how theirs stacks up. Not 100%, but I would say definitely greater than 80%.
Oh.
When I am out door knocking a neighborhood, here's a couple of scripts that you might consider using. Hi, this is Margaret Keller-Williams, and the reason I'm stopping by today is we're hosting this weekend. Oh, that's not written very well, ChatGPT. We're hosting an open house this weekend at 123 Main Street, and I was curious, who do you know that would love to move into your neighborhood? By the way, in the room, I've given you a packet of scripts, and I've given you an open house follow-up system that you can use for inspiration. For those of you that are on Zoom, I will email it out. Another one that I love, especially when we don't have a lot of inventory. Hi, this is Margaret Keller-Williams. We're hosting an open house, blah, blah, blah. I find often that there is more than one buyer looking in this neighborhood for a home. And unfortunately, I only have one home to sell. Who do you know that may be looking to sell in the next few months? Because what do I really want? Do I want buyers or do I want sellers? I want sellers. Sellers are a lot less work. Lot less work. It's the best leverage you're going to find in real estate. Database and social media. Email your sphere. Let them know you're doing an open house. Post multiple times. I was working with an agent and we were creating a open house strategy for that agent. And I love ChatGPT. Like, it's just one of my favorite things. It makes me sound so smart. And it told us in her open house that she should do 3 posts for every open house. Okay. Create urgency, only open 2 hours. Okay. So think about the hooks and what you're going to use as you're doing those emails. During the open house, during is where you're starting your conversion.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Of course.
What do you think about doing? I don't know if you just mentioned this or I just forgot. Doing a open house like an hour early just for the neighbors, a private invite for the neighbors to brief preview.
Absolutely. Amanda and Nikki actually do and so does several people do sip and sees on their listings in their more luxury products. And they'll do a sip and see on Thursday night, and that's when it hits the MLS. So they will go and invite the neighbors to come to a sip and see.
A sip and see. Okay. Okay.
Yep. If you ever go, there's usually wine, charcuterie boards. I mean, it's usually upscale, right? If you ever get the chance to go to a broker open, either held by AN Homes or Gill Orchard or the Kesslers, go. Go
Okay.
see how they do it. Go see how the agents in this office who are getting business out of open houses are doing it. Right? I mean, Lantern Home Group, a large part of their business comes from open houses. Right? AN Homes gets a ton of business from open houses. We get 20% of our business from open houses, right? Gill Orchard, Kessler's, Debbie DeWitt, go see how these guys are doing it and learn from them. Because here's the beauty of open houses. There's no one way. Go take a tidbit watching this group and make a tidbit from this person and a tidbit from this person. Find the thing that fits you and make it yours. Okay? Remember, you're not hosting, you're lead generating. We say you're hosting an open house, but you're prospecting, right? You're working. So set the atmosphere. Make this house bright, bright, bright. Every light is on, including the light in either the range hood or the microwave above the range. Turn every light on you can find. Open up the window coverings. Have some music, right? Sometimes you can do it on the smart TVs, you can put music on, or sometimes just a speaker. Like I am amazed at the little speaker that Charles has here in the office, how good the sound is out of this little itty bitty thing, not much bigger than a silver dollar. Make sure the house is clean and welcoming. Now, I am not asking you to clean somebody else's house, but it wouldn't hurt to have a Swiffer in your car and something, because sometimes things happen. So I definitely have paper towels in case something gets spilled. Your registration system. There's many ways to do this. There's no one way, and there's no wrong way, and there's no only way. You can use a registration form, which means it's like a sign-in sheet. And there's many varieties. You can Google it. Some of the classes we hand them out. Some people will use a digital one, and they'll just have a QR code, and then it's like a Google form that they fill out. I believe there's a way to do it with command. I would check with our new regional tech trainer and ask him how to do it. But you can use a sign-in sheet. Greg does this really well, right? It's literally walking, I need you to sign in. Okay, and it's nothing more than like an Excel spreadsheet version, and it's got name, phone number, email, address. Please don't put on there, who are you, do you have an agent? You're asking them to lie to you. You're going to see, I never asked that question. So your sign-in sheet can be name, email, phone number, mailing address, and then maybe some add-on questions. Like, when are you considering making a move? Right? Would you be interested in a buyer consult? There's a whole lot of things, that's a whole other class, but use some kind of sign-in sheet. It can be pen and paper, it can be digital. Another way that a lot of people have success is with feedback forms. This is what my team uses. We've had much more success. We get a lot fewer Mickey Mouses by using the feedback forms. Again, it still asks for all that information, but it also gives them places to show what they thought about the house. Do I really care what they thought about the house? Nope. But they think I do. Right? We don't have them fill out the feedback form until they've gone already through the house. So let me give you an example. Let's all go to Nordstrom's and we need a pair of black slacks. Okay, so we walk into Nordstrom's and this wonderfully friendly salesperson comes up and says, "Can I help you find anything?" What do you say?
Just looking.
"No, I'm good. Just looking." Do you think when people walk into your open houses, they're conditioned to tell you no? Right? So when they walk into an open house and then you want them to sign in right away, you're not going to get good information. The odds of it go down. Now, Greg has a mastery with this. And so I'm not saying it doesn't work. Figure out your system. Okay. Where with feedback forms, we're chatting them up, we're talking to them, we're telling them about the house. It's very low key. And before we let them cut loose to go look at the house, we say this one sentence. "Before you leave, we have one favor. When you get done looking at the house, we have a feedback form over on the kitchen island next to the water and the snacks. And if you wouldn't mind filling that out, it allows us to share your thoughts with the seller and the listing agent."
That's
Now, guess
brilliant.
what I just did? I not only told them, I just told them I'm not the listing agent. Because remember, you don't want to present as if you are. I just told them. But I didn't make a big deal of it. Okay? Then when they come back, they've looked at the house, I've chatted them as they've come through from floor to floor. Their guard with giving me their information has come way down. We're talking, what did you think? How did you like the basement? How'd you like whatever? And they're on autopilot. My name is, my phone number is, like they're not on guard. So we've had really good success with that. Play with the different styles and find yours. Now, there are other agents who don't use either one, and yet they still get a lot of business out of open houses. And how they do that is they build that relationship with the guest at the open house. Okay, you notice I'm calling them guests because they're not clients.
They are guests.
They are guests, and I don't want to call them prospect. So they're guests. I'm chatting with this guest, and they're asking me some questions, and they need information from me. Well, I'm not going to hand it to them right there on the spot, even if I have it. I'm going to say, "Oh, you know what? I can send you my digital buyer's guide. I think you'll find that really helpful. Can I get your email address?" And your name was Joe Smith. And just in case that email bounces, what's your phone number? You guys don't give it to you because they want whatever you've said you're going to send them. So another way to get contact information, and then you have to follow up. Questions, thoughts, feedback?
Great information.
Cool. Information for information or information to action. All right, brokerage disclosure
Action.
buyer, right? One of the things that consumers have a right to know is the different ways that you as real estate professionals can work with the consumer. We actually display the brokerage disclosure to buyer. We have it in a little stand, and if someone starts talking to us, the first thing we do is we go pull it. So we actually had this happen Friday night at our open house. It's my listing. Stacy and I are there together. This super great young couple with this little girl. I'm in second grade, but I do third grade math. That was the funniest thing that she had to tell me. Anyway, they started talking about wanting to do an offer. The very first thing is I went and not just pulled the display, but I pulled underneath it where we have some printed copies. And I literally pulled it and I said, "Before we go any farther, let me explain to you the different levels of relationships and support that you can have from a real estate professional." We walked through the difference between agent, transaction broker, and customer. Okay. And so having that there meets those disclosure items that you're not misleading the clients, misleading the public. Okay. In this case, we had to treat them as a customer because we had a signed agency agreement with the seller. Those of you that were at my open house this weekend and hosting your own, you walked in, you could have gone straight to agency with them because you didn't have a relationship with the seller. Okay. Here's how you frame the request forms. We track activity for the seller. And you noticed in my little spiel, right? We just want to give feedback to the seller and the listing agent. Same thing. Okay. Know your scripts. You're getting a whole stack of them. To me, scripting is nothing more than asking great questions that are open-ended.
Yeah.
Do not, are you working with an agent? You're gonna get a yes every single time. You wanna ask other questions that will give you the answer to that without you having to ask. How did you hear about the open house? I love that one, right? It allows me to figure out where they are. If they say, oh, we were just driving through the neighborhood and saw the signs, thought we'd pop in, they're probably a neighbor. If they say, oh, we found you on Redfin, they're a buyer and they're looking because they're on Redfin. Okay? Are you currently looking or just starting? My other favorite one is, do you live here in the neighborhood or are you out looking to make a move? Are you out shopping for a home today or do you happen to live in the, okay, that one came from Chris Soares, I flipped it. And how have you, this is my magic one. You guys, this fourth bullet is magic. How have you been gaining access to the homes that you've been viewing? They're gonna answer you one of two ways. My agent's been taking me. Well, I got my answer, didn't I?
Yeah.
Or we've just been going to open houses. I got my answer. If they've just been going to open houses, they don't have an agent. Just saying. Okay, questions on that?
How do you handle the prospects that come in that they seem to just be going to open houses, but then when you go to get their information, so I've had this, they're like, oh, I have an agent. How do you address that?
Well, it depends on what the rest of the conversation has been. So that's unusual that if I ask, they say they've only been going to open houses and they suddenly have an agent. I would probably say, like, early I'm asking and they're like, oh, we're just going to open houses. Then when we get to filling out the paperwork, they're like, then they suddenly have an agent. I'm probably gonna say, oh, who is it? Who are you working with? Right? If they start stumbling, I'm probably just gonna ask them to fill out the form anyway. I'm gonna treat them like they really don't have an agent. If they say, oh, I'm working with Andrea Brewer from Keller Williams, well then they really duly are. Typically, Kelly, if they say they've just been coming to open houses, I don't get that.
Yeah, so we had someone come through this weekend and it was a couple very interested. They loved the home, but like weren't ready to do something quick. And they had indicated that they were just looking at homes on Zillow and trying to pop by houses. Now they didn't they, early on they did not say that they had an agent and they were getting listings from an agent. So I took that as they were she also said they were casual and kind of coming back into the market to get more serious, but they weren't really, they were on the fence. So I took that as open season.
Mhm.
And then I said, oh, okay, great. Well, let me get your information. I can follow up with you on if there's more that comes about. There might be, I talked to someone else in the neighborhood about potentially listing his home. So I said, I use that as an opportunity to say, okay, well, let me get your information. There might be another property that comes up. You really like this one. We could talk again. There could be an opportunity, when it's right, since you're not ready to move today. And so she started writing down her information. She's like, well, I have an agent. I said, oh, okay, well, give me your agent's name. And she didn't even know how to spell her agent's name.
Yeah, so you just experienced Nordstrom's,
Okay.
right? So and some of them are gonna do that, right? What if you ever get a chance, and I encourage you guys all to follow Phil Jones, because words matter and how you phrase sentences and all of those types of things. If they're saying, well, we've only been going to open houses, we really like this, but we're casual, we're not ready to pull the trigger today. I would have maybe have flipped it and said, well, would it be of value to you if when I see another property in this neighborhood come up that I make you aware of it? Who's going to tell you that that says no value?
I have also, when that
Hold
is
on,
happening,
right, let me finish. So would it be of value to you if right? Would it, when I was talking to one of the neighbors, I got an indication there's gonna be another one hitting the market. Would it be of value to you if when I see that happen, I sent that over to you? I would still, again, it's tricky, Kelly. The
Yeah.
fact she couldn't spell her agent's name, it's probably somebody that she was working with 6 months ago and they probably never had a buyer agency sign, but it's possible depending on how that question was phrased, that they got scared that you were going to become pushy.
Yeah. So I know I didn't ask specifically, you know, are you under a buyer's agreement with that agent? Because I didn't want to be too pushy at that point. So, I just told her to give me the agent's, name and number, and, I could keep them both informed.
Yeah, and depending on my mood sometimes I do exactly what you did, right? The other thing that has been a great script, I don't think it's in your packet, so you might want to write this one down. But if people are indicating that they've been, like, we had one couple in Friday night that they were like, we don't sign agreements with any agents. Like, they were very hands off, and she was kind of pushy about it, and I saw it as a challenge. But one of my favorite sayings is, well, has anyone sat down with you and reviewed with you the strategies that buyers are using today to win in this current market?
I love that.
Okay? Has anyone sat down with you to show you how buyers are winning in today's market? See, I didn't even do it the same way twice, right? But that question, Kelly, might have opened up the door a little differently. And again, it's always learning and it's practicing the timing and all of that. Like, come on, you guys, we're learning how to be stand-up comedians and learning how to, read the room without necessarily getting laughed, right? And so that can be another great one for her to say, well, no one actually has. You know what? I'd be happy to do that for you. What are you doing at 4 o'clock when I'm done here? I meet you over at Starbucks. Or the great Mexican restaurant for a margarita that was just around the corner on that. Right? So again, it's never perfect, right? You never know. The consumer's going to hide from us. If they don't want us, they're going to tell us. And many times my opinion is that you saved me a lot of time and heartburn. Okay? Good questions. We are so far behind. Food and beverage, if you're going to do it, keep it simple. I prefer water and light snacks or clear drinks. Nobody wants to clean up the orange crush on the white carpet.
Mm.
Alcohol. I don't do it. Part of it's personal. Part of it is I don't want the liability. I don't ever know anybody's story who's walking in the front door. Do I think there's a place for it? I do. I think there's a place for it when you're doing those neighborhood sip and sees in those more luxury level neighborhoods and you've invited the people to almost like a little party. But my standard open house, if it's just I'm working an open house for another team, there's no alcohol. There's bottled water and candy. That's pretty much what we have.
The last two open houses I've done, the refrigerator had beer in it. I just left it there, but
Yeah. But that's either the seller or the listing agent, right? So up to you. You guys pick your poison on that. That's just my opinion. And if you're going to do alcohol, make sure it's white. What are you really looking for? You're looking for buyers, sellers, investors, and future pipeline. Super simple. We are out building our business. After the open house, after is where your money is made. Most agents never take this step. They lock the door and they're done. And that's why they don't convert. Okay. So, property reset checklist. For those of you that did work my open house this weekend, you got a laundry list of an email, right? That told you all the things to do and not to do, right? These are good reminders. Always double check the doors are locked. Always double check the windows are secured. When it says garage reset, make sure that somebody didn't go and pull the red cord. It's red, right? The red cord where they can open the garage door from the garage outside. Make sure the lights are the way they were supposed to be. My general rule of thumb is leave the lights the way you found them, unless the listing agent told you differently. Okay? Make sure the key is back in the lockbox and the lockbox has been twirled, and remove any writers or signs that are specific around your open house. Okay? The whole door is locked and windows secured. I mean, I have a true story of it, and I'm not proud of it. So I had a listing. Fortunately, it was a very, very, very dear friend of mine. It was back in 2016, and it was an $800,000 home. It's probably $1.5 million now. And I was out of town, so a couple of other agents held the house open for me. And Several months later, I'm out with my friends at dinner. And he says, hey, Margaret, did you know that during that open house that your team held at our house, we lost 2 bottles of expensive wine and a flask? I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, it was gone. Now, I said, well, I have to believe they were monitoring the door. And he goes, oh, I'm sure they were. He goes, but the basement window was unlocked. So someone had gone through the open house. It was a garden level basement. So those are pretty easy to crawl through, right?
Mhm.
So someone had gone through, unlocked from the inside that garden window and cracked it just enough that when they came back, they were able to get in. So thank God they only sold a couple bottles of wine and an expensive flask, because there was a whole lot more expensive stuff in that house. I'm just telling you, take the chance, take the minute to go check. Okay? All right. That was a fun conversation with my friend. Please send feedback to the listing agent. How many people came through? You can talk people or groups, I don't care which. Give them the key feedback. What were people saying? All right, because this is what the listing agent's going to share with the seller, just like they do the feedback that buyer's agents are supposed to give. Talk to them about any buyer reactions. If you had somebody that seemed pretty hot to trot, let the listing agent know that. Say, oh yeah, these people, their names were Joe and Sally, and their agent is Sue. And I think they're gonna send an offer. Here's Sue's contact information, or whatever you have. That helps us a lot. And then, right now especially, I don't know, how many listings does Bob have active right now? Got more than one. So when you're sending feedback to the listing agent, you can do that through email, you can do it through text, I don't care, but make sure he knows which house you were at. Because sometimes when you got more than one running, you can't remember who was at which house. Okay? It's a great problem to have, I agree. Professional follow-up. Send a thank you note or an email to the listing agent, letting them know you appreciate the opportunity that you provided them, right? And by doing so, that builds your reputation and future opportunities. Okay? True story, I had a team invite somebody that was in coaching to do an open house for them a few years ago. And that particular agent managed to get a lead for an $800,000 buyer. They didn't end up buying that specific house, but the listing agent knew that this agent had gotten this buyer opportunity and ultimately closed it. And that agent who hosted the open house never said thank you, never sent a handwritten note saying thank you. And this particular team is big on handwritten notes. It's very important to them. And as a result, they were so mad and felt so disrespected by this agent in coaching, they did not allow anybody in the coaching program to host any more open houses for like 9 months. We got put in the penalty box and we didn't even know we did anything wrong. So just show your gratitude, right? Because they don't have to do these things for us. Okay. It wasn't on the front page, but I'm gonna talk about it. For being professional. Did I not talk about dress code? Dress professionally. Guys, I don't need ties. If that's your style, wear the tie. But a nice polo and a nice pair of slacks. Please try and limit the blue jeans. Have I worn blue jeans to an open house? Yes. When there was 18 inches of snow outside and I had my snow boots on. Yes. But typically, you guys see me in blue jeans every day of the week here in the office. Are they at the open houses?
No.
Nope, never. So dress appropriately, show up appropriately, make sure your hair is neat, make sure you take a shower that morning, all the stuff. And I wouldn't say those things if they don't happen. Okay. Your follow-up plan. One of the things that's in the packet is actually a follow-up plan that I ripped off from another coaching team. It's the very last page in here. And it's pretty nice, right? It literally tells you what to do as they're walking out the door. So as soon as they leave, send them a text, right? And it works. That's what I'm going to tell you. Hey, this is Margaret. Thanks so much for stopping by my open house at 123 Main Street. They're probably not even to the car yet, and I'm texting if I'm not busy. If you'd like any other information, or if you'd like to come back and take another look, let me know. This is my private line. Oh no, I got $1 million listing off of one of those. Send an email when you get home. The next day, send a handwritten note, call them. See the handout for a start to a follow-up plan. This is where you'll get paid. Okay? Use the smart plans that are in command. Like on our team, we have an entire checklist. If they're a nosy neighbor, they go into these plans. If they're somebody who's a buyer, they go into these plans. If we don't know, they go into these plans. And how does it flow through? Not all people are created equal with our smart plans. Common mistakes, no follow-up, poor preparation, sitting versus engaging, and not having a system. Get off your feet when they walk in the door. Now, if you're with somebody else and you're working on something, like a lot of times I'll take my laptop and sit at the dining room table and work. And then if we get busy enough, I'll jump up. But I at least acknowledge the people, even if my co-host is actually taking the lead on the conversation. Okay, so be engaging with people and have a system. So here's your system. Prepare, market, convert, and monetize with the app. Okay, so questions, comments, feedback?
Great job.
Very helpful. Thank you.
So go implement. All right, practice, practice, practice. As I said, I'll send out these scripts. You're not going to learn them overnight, and that's okay. I would encourage you, if open houses are going to be your jam, if you have not yet done this, go and YouTube search my friend Chris Suarez, Suarez, open houses. Chris made $1 million moving across country where he knew nobody in 1 year. And he did it all with open houses. He's got good scripts. He's got good systems. Will you implement it 100% the way Chris did? No, but there's going to be nuggets that you're going to take. There's also 3 great skills labs about open house mastery. One's hosted by Landry Home Group. One's done by AN Homes, and the other one was my team. All 3 of those teams get over 20% of their business from open houses. That's a hunk of change.
It is.
Change. Andrea, I got a question.
Yes, I just thought of one. Thank you. So if you are hosting an open house for a brokerage that is not ours, what are the rules about signs? Should we be putting up our signs, like checking out ours and putting them up, or are we putting out their brokerage signs?
Ask the listing agent if they have a preference. Most of them don't care, and they'll say use your signs.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They want you to get the visibility, right? And if you have your own branded signs, that's one of the reasons you're doing it.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, good question. Anybody else?
I also practice on AI, do role play with it. Sometimes I'm the buyer, sometimes I'm the agent, and role play, and learns a few things.
Absolutely. So ChatGPT has a script, a voice-to-voice script tool where you can tell it, hey, today I would like to role play. I'm working at an open house. A buyer prospect walked in, but they don't want to give me their contact information. I'll be the agent, you be the buyer. And then you can literally script with it, and you can turn on a tool where it actually voices back. So
Yep.
it sounds like a human voice. And then when you're done, it will actually give you feedback on what you could have done differently. So like when Kelly was talking about how would you do, throw that into ChatGPT and have some fun with that script practice. It's actually very, very helpful. Script practice with each other, right? If you're out setting signs in the car, right? Like practice back and forth with your
Yep.
partner, right? Huge help, right? Another thing that's great is not Mo Anderson, Diane Kokoska, who used to be the head of MAPS, which is our training organization. She used to teach us as coaches to write 50 questions. Every week, we have to write 50 questions, right? Because questions are how you build relationships and get things moving. And so what are the 50 questions that you could talk to somebody as an open house on? Just start scribbling out. What are some questions that would be appropriate in an open house? They will become top of mind and be built into your subconscious. Okay? All right.
Sure.
Sorry I ran late, guys, but I hope it was valuable. And I didn't lose anybody on Zoom, so that's always a good start. So I will see you all later. Let me know if you need any help. See you all later. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.